Hi everyone, and welcome back to That's Mental. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit about how you can recover from workplace trauma. So if you've been following this channel for a while, you'll know that in my past videos I've talked about workplace trauma, what it is, the conditions that cause it, and so on. And also, and this is really important, clarifying that it's a real thing, people. It happens, it's real, it exists. So if you've read any of my blog posts, then you might have seen that I've talked about burnout PTSD, which is the fear of burning out again once you return to work, which of course is also related to the whole trauma and working in a traumatizing environment. In this video, I want to talk about how you can recover from the trauma you've endured at the workplace and the scars that it left on you. Before I do that, I want to share a little story with you because it was only recently that I realized I had burnout PTSD. I used to joke that I was, traumatized and had PTSD from my last job, but I didn't realize quite so much how true that was and how I had been affected by it until not that long ago. Basically, I was just afraid of everything, afraid of taking on too much work, afraid of having my boundaries pushed, afraid of burning out again. And yeah, I just believed that I couldn't do it, and I was constantly in fear of reliving or finding myself again in a similar type of situation that I was before that caused the burnout. Until a few months ago, I completely believed that agency life was not for me. I just believed it was not my thing, too fast-paced, too high pressure, and too stressful. And it wasn't until I took on a new assignment that I realized that that wasn't true at all. And that in fact, it's just that I had been so traumatized from my previous job that I had associated all of that negativity with agency life and the agency world, when in fact it was more my experience in that job at that time. And as I learned on that project, there are actually certain aspects of agency life that I really like. The variety of work, the fact that it changes all the time. I even like the fast-paced element, to be honest, especially now that I'm much more capable of handling it. The point is that I had so much fear and trauma from my past experiences that I had completely written off that type of work. But just as with the burnout PTSD, I'm realizing that I'm actually capable of doing this kind of job. Not just that I can enjoy it, but that I am able to do it now, that I'm resilient and that I have the tools to cope with this kind of environment. I'm realizing that I'm not going to burn out again, and there are things I like that I need to go back and discover and figure out what it is that works for me in that environment. So first, I want you to know that if you've also had a traumatic experience at work, it's completely normal to feel afraid, to feel a degree of uncertainty, to be experiencing some of this PTSD, and to just not be really sure where you stand and maybe be hesitant or reluctant or, have some of this dread and anticipation. You've created certain defense mechanisms in order to survive, which again is completely normal. And some of those defense mechanisms might involve you rejecting certain jobs, certain projects, certain types of people, certain environments, which is totally normal because you are trying to protect yourself. But much like my personal experience has shown me, I believe that we can all recover from the trauma, and I believe that we shouldn't let it, I don't want to say cloud our judgment, but prevent us from taking on new opportunities and exploring things that we might enjoy. Because at the end of the day, it's quite possible that we are more than capable of doing certain things, or even that we might really love certain things we've written off. And so today I want to help you understand how you can recover and how to get back on track in the way that you want to. So step one, probably the most important step, is just give yourself time. Really take all the time that you need. Like I said, I only had this realization recently. This is maybe 6 years after I left that job. So, 6 years is a pretty long time. Take the time that you need to heal, to really slow down, to recover from your experience. And just process everything that you've been to. Don't rush yourself into something new. The second thing I would say is get help, whether that's through a therapist or through a coach. Don't hesitate to reach out and talk to someone about what you've experienced. And when I say take time to heal, this healing doesn't have to be done alone. Whether it's talking to friends, whether it's talking to a professional, there are ways that you can process what you've experienced and make sense of it. It might even just be reading books, doing exercises from those books. But really, I think getting help is a very important step in the process. This is because it will help you understand and piece together bits of what happened and why it happened to you, which I personally believe is an essential part of the recovery process, really gaining the understanding of why you ended up in certain situations. Step 3, as I always say, is know yourself. And again, this is so important. There's no one size fits all because we are all different. That's why it's so important for you to know yourself, know your boundaries, what works, what doesn't, and also know what recharges you and what are the things that give you energy, what are the things that bring you joy and that you really love. All of these are the tools that you're going to need to build your life the way that you want it. So super important. And it really also comes with step 2 and with step 1, because as you're taking the time to recover, and if you're working with someone to help you, you can slowly take time to understand those things about yourself and get to know yourself better. Step 4, and this is now the most important step once you're ready to get back out there. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. You've got this. If you've been doing the work, if you've been taking time to heal, if you've rested, if you've gotten to know yourself better, trust that you have got this. After a certain period of time, you've left the situation that you were in that caused you pain. You've worked on yourself, you are recovered, you're feeling ready to get back out there. If you found this video, chances are that you have some understanding of what's happened to you and you're working towards building something new. In this period of time, it's really important to understand and realize and feel that you are not the same person that you used to be. You have changed. You are a new person with that experience. Which means that hopefully you've taken steps to change things in your life and also yourself, that you're a different person with new tools and a different outlook on life. And most importantly, you're a new person with experience. And I cannot stress this enough because yes, it's that one thing that we wish we all had when we're young and fresh and starting out on the job market. And for me personally, it's one of those things that I realized later on, like, oh, that's what they mean by experience. Experience is not just competence in your field, it's also experience of handling different workplace situations, different people. And when you've been through something traumatic and you've been in a toxic work environment, you've gained a lot of knowledge of how to deal with or spot those situations, of what you would do differently, of the types of people that, end up dragging you into those situations. So trust your experience. It's really important to realize that this experience means that you are not going to make the same mistakes again, and you have to believe it. Just trust that you can handle it. Whatever it is, whatever life throws at you, trust that you got this. Step 5 is to trust others. And I know that this is a really hard one, especially if you've been burned, and we've all been burned. But once you realize you can trust yourself and you really believe it, the next step is starting to trust others again. Alongside the trust in yourself, part of it is also recognizing that not all situations are the same and that you're not always going to be in a repeat of the exact same situation that you were last time. And likewise, not all people, not all jobs, not all scenarios are the same, are created equal, are going to look the same as they did before. So you really have to trust that when you encounter a new scenario, even though it might seem similar to something that you've seen before, it's a whole other environment. And the only way to test the waters and to see what you're capable of is really allowing yourself to live that situation, to go through it, to have faith in the moment and come out the other side. And I know that sounds scary, but this is part of the process, and that's also what's gonna allow you to trust others more and see what happens in this new situation. Step 6 is dare to try. And again, this is also quite scary alongside with trusting others. Daring to put yourself in certain situations, daring to take on certain projects, daring to work with certain types of people, daring to, take on a bigger workload or more responsibility or whatever it is that scares you. Even the things that you believe you might not be able to do or you're worried will push you to the burnout again. Just try it. Just try it. Remember that you always have the option to get out. Nothing is irreversible. So if you don't like it, you can always just say no. You can always stop. You can also define these boundaries before you start and say, okay, I'm going to try this once, or okay, I will try for this amount of time. But it's really important to try. If you don't try, you won't know. And it's exactly like what I said in the beginning. I didn't know I was capable of this. I didn't know I was capable of returning to agency life, let alone that I would enjoy it. And I needed to try and go back and face my fears in order to discover that about myself. Realizing that something I had been afraid of for so long actually wasn't that bad, and that there were parts of it I liked, was so refreshing and so liberating, I might even say. In a way, it almost felt like I was regaining agency over myself and my career choices. So I would really encourage you to try, because it's reclaiming a part of your experience for yourself. In fact, it's almost like I felt I was giving myself permission again, permission to try and do the scary things, which I had been holding myself back from for the longest time out of fear. And I realized that it had actually been my trauma holding me back. And that's the thing about trauma. It's pesky like that. It gets in the way, it holds you back, it creates narratives for you, sometimes subconsciously, that you're not even aware of how it's affecting you. And yeah, there's so many layers to it, and layers behind layers. And that's why it's hard to really know what's happening when it's happening. But as you slowly develop the awareness, hopefully you can recognize it for what it is and take small steps towards changing and towards your recovery. And in my experience, if you want to be able to move forward, you also need to be able to get rid of that old narrative, the one that's been holding you back. And that's why trying new things is so important. So my message for today is, you're not who you used to be. You got this. Just go for it. Go ahead and try to surprise yourself. I know it's not going to be easy, and you might not succeed on the first try, and that's okay. You also have to give yourself permission to fail and to accept that you might not get it on the first try. And the whole point is that you're just trying and putting yourself out there with no expectations. This is between you and yourself and nobody else. Just give yourself credit for already trying, for just being there, for overcoming what you've gone through, and for wanting to try new things, because this is a big step in and of itself. It's also about reclaiming your story and not letting the trauma define you. If you found this helpful, or if you have any tips of your own for overcoming workplace trauma, for getting back out there, for getting rid of this PTSD, then please let me know. Share them in the comment box below. We can all benefit from it, I'm sure. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Then stay tuned, because there will be more as always. Also, if you're looking for a coach and you want someone to help you out, then you can get in touch via my website. I'm available for coaching, so don't hesitate to reach out. So that was it for today. I hope you found this useful. Thank you, and see you next time.